Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. Today is Memorial Day. Today's Memorial Day. This is the special edition for my Memorial Day edition. I want to take this opportunity to, in remembrance of all our fallen members of our loved ones that have fallen in the armed forces, that have fallen in battle, fighting for our freedoms that we have today in the United States. It's Memorial Day, and it's a day of in remembrance. And I want to talk about the history of Memorial Day. Memorial Day started when we started. It started in 1865, and that was after the Civil War, and that was when we started celebrating, or we started remembering the soldiers that died during the Civil War, and there was the first Memorial Day started in Charleston, South Carolina. It was done by some freed slaves. That was they wanted to intern some black Civil War soldiers that died during the Civil War. There were 257 bodies that they wanted to honor that died during the Civil War, and during that time they wanted to honor these guys. These were freed slaves. These soldiers were fighting for the freedom of the slaves, and these slaves gathered these soldiers up. And there were 250 bodies that they found. And so they wanted to honor these soldiers. And so what they did was, the only land that the government gave them were a land that was formerly used as a POW camp for Confederate soldiers. A federal soldier POW camp that was in Charleston, South Carolina. And so they dug a mass grave to intern those 257 soldiers, black soldiers, that died during the Civil War. Now, those were Union soldiers. After the internment, it was one grave with all those soldiers that the 257 soldiers that died, and they had a service honoring those soldiers that died during the Civil War, and then they had a parade in celebration of that. So that is the first Memorial Day that was celebrated, but they didn't call it Memorial Day. That was done the 1st of May, 1865. Now, on the 30th of May, 1865, a general of that was the Grand Army of the Republic, General John Logan. He did a similar celebration of Memorial Day celebration, but he did not call it a Memorial Day celebration. He called it Decoration Day, and his day was supposed to have people decorate the grave sites of fallen Civil War soldiers that died during the Civil War. he called it the Decoration Day, which meant that everybody that died during Civil War, soldiers who perished during that time, everyone was supposed to go out and decorate and their grave site. That they called that Decoration Day, and that was the start. So he got the credit for starting that day, but in essence, the true beginning of Memorial Day goes to the freed black slaves in Charleston, South Carolina, that interned those 257 soldiers in that mass grave on the 1st of May, 1865, and they did a mass ceremony. They grave interned those. The land that they did, they interned those bodies where it was a formal POW camp for Confederate soldiers, and they interned those. And after that, they had their prayer service, and after that, they had a parade. So that was basically the same thing that we do today. We have a parade every year for our Memorial Day. But President Johnson started and officially having Memorial Day, and he signed it into law in the Memorial Day, and he started having it on the fourth Monday of each May. That was when we were going to celebrate Memorial Day. The fourth Monday of each May. The fourth Monday of May. And that went down and he started that in the 1968. He signed that into law. Okay. And he gave the credit for having the first, he gave the city of having the first Memorial Day celebration to a city in New York called Waterloo, New York. He said that was the first city given the credit for the first Memorial Day, but it was in Charleston, South Carolina. Amen. Okay. Now there's certain things that you don't say. There's no certain thing. You don't say Happy Memorial Day, because Memorial Day is supposed to it's a day of remembrance, and we remember the soldiers who gave the ultimate sacrifice and gave them their lives for this country during the war, and that's nothing happy about that. The proper thing to say is hope you are having a thoughtful day, not a happy day. Hope you're having a thoughtful day in remembrance of your loved ones, of a thoughtful day of thinking about the ones that have lost their lives, your loved ones. And just because someone's a veteran, today's veteran, you don't go up to a veteran and say Happy Memorial Day or thank you for your service, because it's not for the veterans of today. It's for remembering the ones that have fallen in during battle. Now, there's a group of people that we don't think of that have fallen in battle. Just because you did not lose your life on the battlefield, I think that I've talked to a friend of mine, and she was saying that her uncle fought in the war, in World War II, and he came home and he lost himself. He was different when he came back. He was an alcoholic and he drank himself to death. And he was a shell of a person when he came back. He wasn't the same. So we have to celebrate those people too, because they lost themselves in battle too. They are victims too, because they were a shadow of themselves coming back. So they lost themselves in battle, the battlefields over there too. So we have to, they are to be celebrated too. We don't think of them. We think of them, oh, he's just a drunk, a veteran, and because we don't know what they've gone through. They lost themselves in the battlefields in a far nation, far, far away. And when they came back as a shadow of themselves. And so they really couldn't relate to anybody over here. And so they drank themselves to death, or they became homeless, and they are just as much a victim, and they've lost their lives just as if they lost their lives in the battlefield. Okay, so those people, those veterans, should be celebrated also, because we're losing a lot of our veterans that have been in the military, gone to battle in up-to-date wars that were Desert Storm, and all those people that have come back that are shell of themselves, that are still, they should be celebrated too. They should be remembered too, because they've lost their lives too. They're victims of suicide. They're victims of homelessness. They're victims of alcoholism, drug addictions, and all of that. Alcoholism is a drug addiction, okay, and it's a sickness. Don't forget that. Alcoholism is, just because it's legalized, it's a drug addiction. You're addicted. It's a drug. These people that come back out of the war, they are victims of the war also. People, soldiers that are former soldiers that are gone through post-traumatic stress disorder. Those soldiers that came back from World War I, World War II, that got into alcoholism, suicide. Those soldiers suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder, but we didn't have post-traumatic stress disorder. There wasn't anything such as that back in those days. So now we know better, but now we can say that they were, they should be, this is their day also. Okay? So things that you don't say is, there's not such thing as Happy Memorial Day. It's hopefully you say remember. I'm hoping that you're having a thoughtful day, because Memorial Day is nothing happy about that, because we are remembering the ones that have lost their lives in battle and fought and given the ultimate sacrifice. That's what Memorial Day is all about. Okay, and there's a difference between Veterans Day and Memorial Day. The veterans, you're celebrating people that are in the military now. People that have been in the military, you're celebrating them. That's only 2% of the people in the whole nation that have been in the military. Veterans, 2%. There's not that many people that have went into the military. Okay, I'm a military brat, and also I'm a veteran. So we celebrate Veterans Day for all veterans, people that have gone into the military, served in the military. Okay, Memorial Day are for those who went to battle and lost their lives. Those are the ones that we're celebrating for today. Have lost their lives in battle. And I would like to also remind you that we also should be it should also be included those ones that came back and sickness and have died with alcoholism, homelessness, and that kind of suicide. They were victims also. Okay. There's also what they call, don't get it mixed up, there's also a celebration where they call a Confederate Memorial Day. Confederate Memorial Day are the Southern Memorial Day. Southern Memorial Day, those are the Southerners, people from the Confederate Army that fought to maintain slavery during the Civil War. So they do have a remembrance for their soldiers that fought to maintain slavery. Okay, they fought to keep slavery. So there's a Memorial Day for those soldiers too. But Memorial Day is for all soldiers that fought for the United States and that Union Army, the federal government, the official federal government. Okay. There's the Armed Forces Day is considered the third Saturday in May, and that's for Armed Forces Day. There's an Armed Forces Week that starts in the second Saturday and it goes to the third Sunday of May. Okay. So unofficially, Memorial Day is the start of summer, so that's the start of summer, and that's where most of the pools open and everything, and but most of the time they talk about the first Memorial Day. First time was supposed to be the May the 30th, 1868. But it isn't May the 30th. That was but they called it Decoration Day, and they gave that to General Logan. But the first Memorial Day was May the 1st in Charleston, South Carolina, with those freed slaves that buried those, that interned those Union soldiers in that one mass grave. Okay, it's remembering the falling soldiers. It's nothing happy, so don't go up to people saying Happy Memorial Day. It's nothing happy about it. It's a day of remembrance. Okay, it's a somber occasion, and it's a day that we remember our falling, and that's it. I was talking to a friend of mine, and she reminded me about. She had an uncle that served in World War II, and she was one that reminded me that we should not just celebrate the ones that lost their lives in battle. We should also talk about the ones that lost their lives after they came back, the suicides, and also the ones that died through alcoholism, homelessness, that froze to death on the streets. They are just as much be celebrated victims also, because the current administration is trying to cut most of the veterans programs out, because he has no sympathy or empathy towards veterans at all. We must remember our veterans, because it was because of the veterans that caused us to fight, and they fought for our freedoms that we are appreciative today. We should appreciate them, and especially those ones that gave the ultimate sacrifice. Okay, so this lesson was supposed to talk about and give you a brief synopsis, a brief lesson, a history lesson of Memorial Day. And I hope that I did that, and so I want you to know that I'm still on the battlefield for the souls of our family. And this is Reverend Sylvester Hampton. Once again, I love you. Nothing you can do about it. And I pray that you're in remembrance, and I hope that you're continuing being thoughtful in this Memorial Day. And I wish you all the best, and my prayers will be with you and your loved ones on this Memorial Day. And I pray that your thoughts are good thoughts of your loved ones that have fallen in battle. Amen. Until the next time, this is Reverend Sylvester Hampton. Once again, have a good day. Bye-bye.